The fellow's going to get up here next has done more for the Tea Party in Connecticut, I shouldn't say than anybody, but he's right up there on top. He's better known as the voice of the Tea Party of the state of Connecticut. He goes to rallies all around the state. He's helped organize Tea Parties. He's helped put candidates out so they could be elected for this next election. I met Joe about a year and a half ago, and when I need advice, I go to Joe. He's smart, he knows what he's doing, and he's an excellent speaker. My friend, Joe Markley.
All right. Yay, Joe!
Thank you, Jack. That was at my special request. I haven't been able to come down here before to be at one of Jack's rallies, and I wanted to join him here today and join all of you. And it's a wonderful day to be here. You know, I think that in the whole calendar, next to Christmas, this is the day most worthy of celebration. Yeah. Not, to my mind, so much because it's Independence Day. You know, we would have become independent sooner or later. Heck, the Australians became independent, and the Indians, and the Canadians even. And all the countries that were separated by the pond from Europe became independent, etc. Eventually. What I think is unique and especially worth celebrating about us is not simply our independence, but the form of government that the dreamers who created this country put in place. A form that the best men and women in history had dreamt of for thousands of years, a democratic republic. The form of government they wanted to have in Athens, the form they had in Rome before empire ruined that civilization, the form that the Saxons adopted, the form the Dutch had temporarily, and a form of limited government that respects personal liberty, the beginnings of which the English had. And it is as if this continent were reserved to the great men and women that came here and founded this country to set up a republic in peace and with the resources that we needed to support it. That is what we celebrate here today. And because of the brilliance of the men that wrote the Constitution, this republic has lasted over 200 years. A republic is a government in which the people control their destiny through their representatives. And the great threat to the republic is the danger that those representatives, those agents, will form a class unto themselves and work against the interests of the people. And that is exactly the point we have come to in this country. A governmental elite that thinks it knows better than we do how this country should be run has taken control. And they flatter us, and they pander to us, and they pay us off. But they take away our freedom. They take away what is essential and right about this country. Now, we don't have to fight those people. We don't have to go to war with them. We don't have to guillotine them. All we have to do is beat them. I don't mean beat them with clubs. I mean beat them at the polls. Maybe with the clubs afterwards. We need to beat them 4 months from now in November. That is our opportunity to take this country back. And we better do it quick. The situation is too serious in America and in the state of Connecticut to allow these bozos to continue to drive the bus for us. Politicians like to be optimistic. They like to tell people that the sun will shine tomorrow and our best days are ahead of us and all that. We have some great days behind us. I think we have some tough days ahead of us. And we need people in office that are willing to face facts, that can see that we are on the wrong course. Now, I am running, thank you, Flag Man. I am running for the state senate, so let me talk about, just say something about our situation here in the state of Connecticut. Our state is borrowing $1 billion a year, $1 billion a year, just to cover our ongoing expenses. cannot continue. We're not like the United States government can print money if it has to. Not Connecticut. Everything we borrow, we've got, everything we spend, we've got to have in our hand. We can't keep borrowing money. Can we raise taxes? On who? On the poor? They don't have any money. On the middle class? We can't afford it anymore. On the rich? They're leaving the state anyways. We're going to drive them all out. On business? On business that hardly is surviving in Connecticut? We can't raise taxes. What are we going to do? We've got to cut spending in Connecticut. We've got to cut it meaningfully. We've got to cut it repeatedly. We've got to cut it as carefully and sensitively as possible to keep government working. But we've got to cut spending. Now, as Jack said, over the last year, I've spent a lot of time finding good candidates for the state legislature. And we've got them. People that have the nerve to make the cuts and make the moves that we need here in Connecticut. I was just talking to one of them back here behind me, Peggy Rogers, that's running right next door over in Milford. Good woman, a real concerned citizen, a citizen stateswoman who's standing up and sticking her neck out on our behalf. She was saying to me how difficult it is to raise money. I know because I'm running myself. One thing we need your help now. Sean Murphy, my friend Sean, was just saying how the rallies are great and the protests are great and going after the congressmen are great, but we got to win in November at this point. That's where we should be focused on the campaigns. And part of that is giving the support these campaigns need. Let me say, if you want to do something patriotic on the 4th of July, you couldn't do better than to give $5 to one of the good state legislative candidates that's running here in Connecticut. You could go to my website, joemarkley.com. I will also have a list of the candidates that I'm involved with that I can guarantee you will get the job done up in Hartford. Let me conclude by saying, this government is legitimate, as Jefferson said in the Declaration, if it has the consent of the governed. But we know it doesn't have our consent anymore. We didn't consent to Obamacare. We didn't consent to the bank bailouts. We didn't consent to the stimulus. We didn't consent to the busted budget that we have in the state of Connecticut. We have to turn out the incumbents that we have in place and replace them by public-spirited men and women. And if we do that, we will get what Lincoln promised us. What we need in this country. A new birth of freedom. The government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth. That is my prayer on July 4th. Thank you very much.